Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to Munich's Zebener Street. We start this live training session with an unusual picture. Pep Guardiola on the right, with his back turned to us. It's Bastian Schweinsteiger, next to him Thomas Müller. But on the far left, it is a very unusual guest in training, Bastian Schweinsteiger's brother Tobias, helping out today. It's not very often that Tobias and Bastian Schweinsteiger conduct training exercises together. The players are slowly but surely all coming onto the grounds here. Claudio Pizarro in the background, Xabi Alonso, and as you can see, it's a beautiful day for football in Munich. We expect a few players to return to the public training session, the only public training session of the week. Let's see who can come out and join in this training session today. Mitchell Weiser, bit of the man of the moment at Bayern Munich following his great assist on Saturday to score the first goal, or prepare the first goal for Arjen Robben. And bigger smiles than last week on the faces of these two young men, Pep Guardiola and Bastian Schweinsteiger, who's been in the starting formation together with Xabi Alonso in the last 3 games since the winter break. They are now looking at 4 points from the first 3 games. Statistically, at least not the best result for Bayern Munich, of course, but if you look at the progression of the matches, I think everyone will agree Bayern are slowly getting back into the swing of things. And here are the 2 men that have been sorely missed in the last week or so. On the right, Franck Ribéry, and on the left, Rafinha. Today and the next few days will tell how they've managed to cope and hopefully overcome their injuries, and if they'll be able to play on the weekend already. One man who recently overcame injury is in the background there, David Alaba, with a magnificent goal after 51 minutes on Saturday against Stuttgart to basically close up the game, and decided in favor of Bayern Munich. Alaba with his first goal of the season. I'm sure this man would have had difficulties saving that shot as well. Pepe Reina, fortunately, another one of those players, and there were several of them, who managed to use the winter break to recover from injury. Robert Lewandowski, just a few days ago, elected as the Polish Football Player of the Year for the 4th time in succession. Great honor for the captain of the Polish national team, with 10 competitive goals for Bayern Munich this season already. Following Saturday's 2-0 win, Pep Guardiola had announced for this week's training sessions that there would be less running and more football. Passing as fast as possible, said Pep Guardiola, would be the aim this week. But this is a team of professional athletes. A little bit of warming up, a little bit of running is always part of the training session. If you've watched the last couple of training sessions, particularly those in very bad weather, in very cold weather here in Munich, you will have noticed that we haven't seen these exercises, simply because in those temperatures Pep Guardiola preferred to have his team warm up indoors, warm up in the gym. But again, it's a fantastic, beautiful day in Munich, which is why we can watch this first little warm-up session before the fan favorite, the Rondo, begins. So let's see what happens here. This is Jerome Boateng. Good news came for him and Bayern Munich yesterday when his 3-match ban for the red card in the game against Schalke was reduced to 2 games. Boateng will therefore miss only Saturday's game against, unfortunately for him, his former club Hamburg, but will return a week later against Paderborn. So for those of you joining us maybe for the first time, let me remind you and let me tell you that you can post questions throughout this training session, which, by the way, will probably be a little shorter than usual, shorter than announced. Half of this training session will take place on this pitch number 1, followed by the public, the other half then behind closed curtains, so to speak. We've already had a couple of user questions come in. The first question was when Franck Ribéry can return. If you're optimistic, the answer is possibly on Saturday against Hamburg already. That's what came from Ribéry himself yesterday. He said he thinks that he's been able to handle his injury well and should be fit and ready enough for the Hamburg game. But you always have to wait in these situations how the players react to the first couple of training sessions. The other question was what's going on with Javi Martinez. Well, with a ruptured ligament, you have to be very careful indeed. Ribéry and Rafinha now only out really for 10 days or so. Martinez has been out for several months. He is currently in the process of building muscle strength again in his leg, conducting running exercises on what's called an Ultra G. He's, so in other words, slowly rebuilding his health, his fitness, his endurance levels. It's hard to say, and Martinez is in good company at Bayern Munich with players who have torn their ACLs. Hard to say when you can really return to team training. What happens in many cases is that the injury itself heals quite well, but then the muscles surrounding the injured spot have to recover, might react differently. That's why you have physicians monitor your every move and your recovery process. Possibly in March, possibly in April, Martinez might return to outdoor training, maybe even to team training. But again, with such a severe injury, it's really hard to say when the player can actually return to the pitch and return to full action. Of course, at Bayern Munich, the coaches and teammates are hopeful that Martinez can recover fully during the course of the season and possibly join in and contribute to a successful season towards the end of it.
Dann, ja, kann sein. Dann Kraft und Torschuss, dann Parcours. Obwohl, oder erst Parcours, dann Taktik. Schön Taktik.
Part one of the warm-up exercise seems to be done. This is Manuel Neuer, of course. He's played every single minute of this season, which means, of course, that the backup goalkeepers, you just saw Tom Stark in the background, Pepe Reina, haven't been able to show their skills in competitive football yet. 5 goals conceded in 2015, 4 goals only in the entire first half of the season, but Manuel Neuer wasn't to blame, and there's certainly not going to be a discussion here about the qualities of Manuel Neuer, who traditionally joins in these passing exercises, as does Tom Starke at the top of your screen. Also on the left is Holger Badstuber. We had 1 or 2 comments asking where Robert Lewandowski was. As you can see, he's at the bottom right there of your screen, fit and ready to play as always. So let's enjoy a couple of minutes of this popular so-called now rondo exercise. So a pretty interesting group here. In the center, Holger Badstuber. He's the man that the Bayern fans, I think, all over the planet are hoping and waiting for. Pep Guardiola was asked in a press conference last week if Holger Badstuber is fit enough to play 90 minutes of football yet. He's been on the bench in the first 3 games of 2015, but an unused sub so far. Pep Guardiola answered that question and said, I would like to know the answer to that too. I'll know the answer to that question when I let him play. It seems only a matter of time, but again, 2 torn ACLs, nearly 2 years without football. Not only made Holger Badstuber the personal hero for Karl-Heinz Rummenigge for the way he fought back, but of course also someone that the coaches and medical staff, I don't want to say worry about, but are very reluctant to use to field too soon. But the way he's been training for the past couple of weeks, and keep in mind he was the first Bayern player to come back to their training facilities after the winter break, it seems only a matter of time before Badstuber can return to the pitch. Not that Bayern Munich have that much to worry about in defense. In the center, Jerome Boateng, again, he'll be missing only 1 more game. We have Dante here on the left in the background. He's played 17 Bundesliga games, both DFB Cup matches and 4 Champions League games. Some football tabloids have suggested that Dante is a second choice now at Bayern Munich, but I think those numbers prove these suggestions wrong. Dante's still a very important part of the Bayern defense, and proved that on Saturday again. The first game without a conceded goal in 2015. Pizarro's pass, you just saw that too high. Pepe Reina with a catch. There's Alaba in possession. Rafinha on the right. Juan Bernat now, who also has some very interesting statistics to look back on this season. He's the man who's played most of all Bayern players, with the exception of Manuel Neuer, who hasn't missed a minute yet. But Bernat was used in every single Bundesliga game, even though he didn't complete the full 90 minutes of every single game. But he's collected most minutes of all players in the Bundesliga, played both DFB Cup games and all 6 Champions League games so far. What an impact that young Spaniard has made. Extremely fit and athletic player as well, with no injury problems whatsoever. Same went, by the way, for the man on the right, David Alaba, before his injury. Alaba had played every single minute. Pep Guardiola commented on Alaba very favorably on the weekend, saying he's always fit, a player who can play on each and every position, and one of the most important, one of the key players in this Bayern team. Scored his first goal on the weekend. You probably saw it. Beautiful, unstoppable free kick goal. Already a not one key player, but the key player for the Austrian national team. Sportsman of the year, which is extremely unusual in that ski crazy country. And he's back with no reason to worry. Alaba seems perfectly fit and healthy again. Back in the duels. There was one quite a rough looking duel on the weekend against Stuttgart. Spectacular move here by Jerome Boateng. One spectacular move on the weekend which proved that Alaba isn't shying away from any duels. Mitchell Weiser on the ball. 2 times now in the starting 11. He said it's an absolute dream come true and very fun to play in, to finally play in front of these big crowds. It's what he's been working for all his life. He set up Arjen Robben with a beautiful pass, even if it was a little deflected by Christian Gentner, I believe, for the extremely important opening 1-0 lead for Bayern Munich in Stuttgart. He's benefiting right now from the injury of Rafinha, who is the normal right back for Bayern Munich after he took over from Philipp Lahm. Under Pep Guardiola, we'll see what happens when Rafinha returns. Weiser certainly didn't disappoint in his last two performances. In the yellow shoes, Mario Götze just voted the goal scorer of the year. Not that big of a surprise, of course, and you all know which goal that was. The most important goal a player can score every 4 years. The decisive one to win the World Championship. Beautiful goal there by Mario Götze, and good season so far for him as well. 7 Bundesliga goals and 18 games that he's played. One of the players, again, with well over 1,000 minutes. You break that down, that's one of the top 5, top 6 Bayern players with the most minutes in the Bundesliga so far. There's an interesting mix of players in this group. Sebastian Rode is there, and 2 of Bayern Munich's absolute long-year superstars, Arjen Robben, Bastian Schweinsteiger, and then a couple of youth players, a couple of under-19 players who join in training occasionally, and also right in the center now, Sinan Kurt, and on the far left, Gianluca Gaudino, 2 young players who are pros already and officially part of these training teams. He's one of the young under-19 players next to Manuel Neuer. For years now, Bayern Munich have had this so-called 2-pillar system. On the one hand, generating talent in their own youth academy, and as the avid Bayern fans will have heard, Bayern Munich are going to build a new youth center in the north of Munich, closer to the arena. That's the one pillar, the young talents coming out of the own youth. Gianluca Gaudino, one of them in the past, of course. Thomas Müller, Holger Bartschuber, David Alaba, Before that, Lahm and Schweinsteiger, to name but a few. And then on the other hand, Bayern Munich are still going to buy quality players. Lewandowski and Götze in the last few years. Before that, of course, Arjen Robben and Ribéry were two major transfers. Thiago and Martinez as well. Speaking of Thiago and Martinez, we have more and more comments asking about the injured players. Again, it's hard in the case of the severely injured players to give you a exact prediction of when they will return. Philipp Lahm has been battling with a broken ankle for a while. He is confident that he might return for the second leg of the Champions League round of 16 against Donetsk. First leg taking place, of course, very soon. 17th of February, the away game held in Lemberg in Lviv. That will be too soon for Philipp Lahm, but with a little bit of luck, Lahm might be able to return outside onto the pitch, maybe towards the end of February or at latest in March. And again, Martinez, hard to say. He's hopeful that March could be the month where he returns to outdoor football as well. And hopeful that he can maybe play a few more competitive games this season. With Thiago, the situation is similar, although prediction is even harder there. Thiago still in individual rehab training. As soon as any definite statements can be made, and as soon as any examinations give us concrete information to report about, we will. Pep Guardiola would certainly welcome all of those players back tomorrow, and sooner rather than later. He commented on the situation at Bayern Munich. Of course, quite a few injured players have returned recently, but he said you need this size squad, you need the competition in the squad, particularly at Bayern Munich, because when you have a team of football players that are extremely successful and that have won basically all the titles that you can win in the last couple of years, then you need internal team competition so that the players realize they have to do their very best or they will be substituted. This little challenge here is a perfect example of how Bayern Munich trains. There's fun and laughter in it, but this comes after sliding challenges and after players crash into each other. There's a lot of competitiveness in this team, but all in good spirits. Rafinha and Ribéry, these are the two men we're looking out for and paying particular attention to this week. Both in the center here, both looking good, looking fresh. Seems as if they have indeed at least overcome their injuries. Both with some muscular injuries, nothing too serious. Again, squad position against Hamburg, not completely unlikely. Little discussions interrupt these training exercises all the time. The players don't like to lose the ball, don't like to be in the center here. Good challenge there by Manuel Neuer against Robert Lewandowski. And Tom Starker just plays a chip here. There was a question if Tom Starker is actually fit again. The answer is yes, he is. he would be able to conduct this exercise if he wasn't, and he's been in goalkeeping training for a couple days or weeks even now. He's one of the players who managed to recover during the training camp in Qatar, although he wasn't able to join in the full goalkeeping training there, but worked his way back in the gym and is now back on the pitch and fit again. He has the problem, so to speak, that Piperina has as well. Manuel Neuer has played every single minute of this season, is absolutely fit, has no problems whatsoever. We'll see possibly in the DFB Cup match in the next round, home game against Braunschweig. That might be one of the games in which Pep Guardiola decides to field one of his backup goalkeepers. Apart from that, like most other coaches, Guardiola, who's on the top left of your screen, is reluctant to change on that position. No surprises really when you have that kind of a goalie between the posts. Just lost the ball. Here's Piperina. Even if he hasn't played competitive football for Bayern Munich yet, he's certainly one of the players who adds to the team spirit. A great player in the training, goes to the limit there, and of course, as the backup goalkeeper, that is one of your jobs, to push Manuel Neuer to the limit. But a very outgoing, fun-loving guy. Outside the pitch, has made friends with several Bayern players, is very popular in the team already. He had a pretty sad, terrible story when he joined Bayern Munich. Terrible in the sense of his competitiveness. Played one friendly game, a test game for Bayern Munich, and in that test game his first scene was a pass back to him that he wanted to kick away, and he tore a muscle in his thigh. So he's had, I don't even know, I think 7 minutes on the pitch for Bayern Munich so far. Quite unlike this man, Xabi Alonso, whose arrival at Bayern Munich already has nearly legendary status with the fans, as he integrated so quickly and so well, took over control on the reins in midfield. 3 games now. Xabi Alonso and Schweinsteiger have been in the starting formation next to each other. These two world champions and European midfield icons, slowly but surely following that surprisingly clear 4-1 victory against Wolfsburg in the first match of 2015, and in other words, in the first match following the winter break. Bayern are back on track. Already against Schalke, Pep Guardiola praised the team's performance. Jerome Boateng was sent off after 17 minutes. And Bayern Munich were down to 10 men for the rest of the game and still dominated and controlled it, and were a little unlucky to lose that home game against Schalke. The away team that created really only one chance and scored from that. A admittedly beautiful header by Benedikt Höwedes following a corner kick. Now a hard-fought victory, a ground-out victory against Stuttgart on Saturday. Bayern Munich welcome Hamburg to the Allianz Arena. In Bundesliga history, one of the big traditional duels between two of the biggest clubs in Germany in the last couple of years. Bit of a one-sided affair though. Hamburg struggling with relegation, at least last season. Now they seem to have made it through a bit of a slump and seem to slowly work their way up the table again. Bayern are going to try hard to prevent them from continuing on that track. And this game on Saturday, of course, comes 3 days before Bayern Munich's first Champions League game of 2015, the away game against Shakhtar Donetsk. Jerome Boateng's going to be on board for that again. Obviously, his Bundesliga match ban doesn't count for the Champions League. Earlier we saw Miri Benatia. This is David Alaba. Most defenders fit again. Again, question remains when Holger Bartschuber can return to action. Rafinha, Bayern's right back, also back on track. Mehdi Benatia here in the middle of your screen. A player who had to suffer a couple of setbacks in Qatar, was unable to train there because of his back problems, but is back in form and fitness now. Bayern's goalkeepers. Here is Benatia. Again, suffering from back problems in Qatar, was unable to join in team training more than once, I believe. But the physical training of the injured players has improved to such a degree in the last couple of years that Mehdi Benatia, even without a lot of team training, was able to reintegrate into the Bayern team quite quickly. Having joined Bayern Munich from the Serie A, he should be on point tactically anyway. So if you look at the bottom of your screen on the right, that's Dr. Holger Boy, one of the assistant coaches and physical coaches. He's going to explain what the players have to do in this exercise. It's one, as always, and the Bayern fans who watch these live training sessions know this already, an exercise, seems to me right now at least, which is again typical of Pep, which incorporates basically all elements of the game. You have some physical elements of this. The players will have to jump over these little bars and curve around some of the posts here. Then there'll be some double passing. Here, this is, you can follow Holger Bartschewa doing this. So there'll be a physical element to this, then a passing element, and I assume since the goalkeepers are on the pitch as well, there'll be a shot on goal as well. You can see there's 3 goals. Let's see what Holger Bartschewa does here. Beautiful goal here by Mario Götze. So this is only the first part of a 3-element exercise.
Ich gucke nämlich zu, was ich will.
So shooting exercises on the, or a mixture of a shot and a physical exercise on the left and right of the pitch. This is Bastian's brother Tobias Schweinsteiger in the middle, a 3 against 2 exercise. You see the 2 players from behind the goal storm forward, and then it's 3 players, in this case Ribéry, Robben and Gianluca Gaudino, who storm forward in superior numbers. The players from the center then storm out and conduct the physical and shot exercise. This is Sinan Kurt. Good save by Peperina. Before then you might have caught that shot on goal. Beautiful one by Jerome Boateng. No coincidence that players like Boateng and Benatia have scored goals. Dante hasn't scored a league goal yet, but scored twice in test matches in the winter break. Everyone involved in everyone. The continuation of total football by Pep Guardiola. Arjen Robben denied here. 12 Bundesliga season goals for Robben already. Lost out on the Man of the Match trophy, though, to David Alaba, I think, on Saturday. But certainly the key player in Bayern Munich's team now, the man responsible for creativity in the absence of Franck Ribéry. Götze and Lewandowski defending. So again, you can see here not only are the defenders getting shots on goal and attacking, but the attackers, the attacking midfielders, are forced to defend occasionally in these exercises as well. Here's the other example, Dante storming forward and taking shots on goal. And this is, again, for those of you who don't follow these exercises or don't follow these training sessions by Pep Guardiola regularly, this is absolutely typical that everyone has to conduct the same exercises. It's not like it used to be, where football teams used to go sprinting for half an hour first, and then the defenders would sit at the back and try to prevent the attackers from scoring goals. A lot has changed there, and Mario Götze seems to be in particularly goal-hungry shape here today, scoring his second really nice goal. Thomas Müller and Bastian Schweinsteiger, the defenders in that scene just now. Now it's again Lewandowski and Götze. Shot on goal there by Juan Bernat, just goes past the target. Manuel Neuer keeping busy there. Dante fires a shot. Again, 2 goals in recent test matches. No competitive goals this season yet. Sinan Kurt in the background with a beautiful shot. He's, just like Gianluca Gaudino, been able to impress the coaches. A regular on the Bayern bench now. Although he hasn't played competitive football yet, but strong left foot, very dynamic player. Probably needs a little more time to make it into the senior level of the game. But we all know how difficult it is, particularly at Bayern Munich. One of the great Bayern talents, Pierre-Emil Højbjerg, left the club on loan. But if Højbjerg can't make it into the Bayern's first team, then the young players know how difficult it is. Pep Guardiola, a big fan of players like him. This is Sinan Kurt, good left pass. Mitchell Weiser defending there, and a post saving for the defenders. Gianluca Gaudino, you'll remember that. He basically broke into the top team, or into the first team of Bayern Munich in the summer break, when he used the US tour for some very good performances. He was lucky, as of course the young players always are after a World or European Championship, that Bayern started their summer training camp with several players still missing. German internationals and Arjen Robben, as well as Dante, for instance, all had a long World Cup. And Gaudino impressed with his quick-mindedness, with his sure-footedness, his great accuracy in the passing game. 3 Bundesliga games so far, but he's another good example of a player who needs to build fitness and endurance. Not so this man, Dante, misses the target by a foot or so. As always in these training sessions and in these training exercises, Pep Guardiola extremely passionate and emotional as he explains what he wants the players to improve. Franck Ribéry breathing hard, but from what we can tell so far, he's not experiencing any difficulties. Pep Guardiola and Lewandowski, the Polish Football Player of the Year. Again, with 10 competitive goals already, and with good recent performances for Bayern Munich, working hard up front, the first attacker, the first line of defense at the same time. Bayern's a summer star signing. With 7 competitive Bundesliga goals so far. Don't be surprised if after this exercise the training session, the public part of the training session at least, ends. I assume we'll see a few more minutes here, maybe 1 or 2 more exercises, or maybe another round of this exercise before the players then leave this pitch and all go on to the next pitch that's on the right basically of your screen here behind the grey curtains. That's where Pep Guardiola practices tactical exercises, team movement, positioning of players. Not sure if Robert Lewandowski is explaining to his teammates what's going to change now. I think we're just going to see a second round of the same exercise here.
Und er lacht.
Rafinha denied in the center. Earlier we saw Ribéry conduct this exercise front to back, and I can't tell any injury problems, apparent injury problems that would handicap him here. Seems to be doing just fine. I'm sure it's going to be a strenuous day for him and for Rafinha. Juan Bernat unable to get past Arjen Robben. And again, the fact that Juan Bernat runs up against Arjen Robben there shows you how these exercises work. Every player attacking and defending. This is Gaudino set up by David Alaba. Benatia, a good performance against Stuttgart on the weekend. Again, he had probably the most disappointing time. He was probably the only player, actually, who had a disappointing story to tell of the so-called Volkswagen Camp Qatar, in which he was unable to join in team training more than one time, hindered by back problems. But he doesn't seem to need that much time to get back. Here's Benatia now defending against Claudio Pizarro. Didn't get involved there. Pizarro with a season with the no goal so far, but he only featured in the starting 11 one time. He's Bayern's Lewandowski substitute, basically. Sometimes Thomas Müller plays the role up front. But he's had 7 Bundesliga games this season already, played in both DFB Cup matches, Claudio Pizarro that is. And twice in the Champions League. Schweinsteiger not that fortunate. You'll recall that he suffered from injury quite a bit after the World Championship, but managed to work his way back in the last national team break of the year 2014. Rafinha breathing heavily there. These exercises, they look here in the center was another powerful example of Sinan Kurt's left foot. These exercises, they look fun and they look playful. The players are very motivated to join in these exercises because they have the ball on their foot. They go up against the goalkeeper and get a shooting chance in the center here. You can see they have this competitive element where they defend or attack against each other. Good move there by Tobias Schweinsteiger, even if his shot goes right into the arms of Manuel Neuer. But this is how the players keep the coaches keep the players motivated, how they ensure that everyone is ambitious and eager enough to do a good job here. Give them the ball and the players will do pretty much anything. And because that's the case, while the players are enjoying themselves, they work hard as well. That's where this physical element comes in. You can see Benatia also breathing quite hard there. Looks fun, and it is fun, but it's not easy. Oof. Fantastic goal there by Juan Bernat. 1 goal so far for Bayern Munich. Unfortunately, a goal that didn't change much about the score, and the only defeat of the season so far, the first game of 2015, you know which one I'm talking about, in Wolfsburg. And still, Bernat is playing with more and more confidence. And again, he's the man, aside from Manuel Neuer, who has played most for Bayern Munich this season. There are times when I watch Pep Guardiola in training and I ask myself if he could still play so active, so passionate, so involved. But we'll probably rather rely on the likes of Franck Ribéry and Bastian Schweinsteiger. Smiles on the coaches' faces as Rafinha takes this exercise on. He is certainly one of the most popular players in the team. He has this Brazilian mentality, seems to be always in good spirits. He's a talented musician who obviously finds ways in that area to entertain his teammates. One of the loudest players on the pitch when it comes to competitive exercises, along with Franck Ribéry. And here he is attacking together with Sinan Kurt and Arjen Robben. There are some Bayern fans that are hoping that maybe Sinan Kurt can actually succeed in the footsteps of Franck Ribéry, and they are going to be big. Ribéry on the left, Robben on the right, two players over 30 who still have a couple of good years in them. But Matthias Sammer commented on this fact recently and said, we don't have a problem short or mid-term, but long-term. We need to find some new key players and strongholds in the Bayern team. Sebastian Rode could be one of them. Pep Guardiola commented on him in the first half of the season, saying, even if I haven't fielded him a lot so far, he is one of my favorite players. Here's the man, and you can see the Bayern players following him. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the aforementioned switch. If the players now move over to the side pitch. We've had an hour of training that's, to be honest, more than I expected we would see anyway. Players taking a break to have a drink here, and I think they're all going to leave the pitch here and conduct a few more tactical exercises. That's at least what I assume is going to happen on the pitch that's in the background here, covered up by these big grey curtains. Another question that came in is if we broadcast these training sessions regularly. The answer to that question is yes, we do. How regularly is always the question, especially when Bayern Munich has 2-3 games a week with Champions League, DFB Cup and Bundesliga. There are hardly any public training sessions, and obviously we broadcast only the public sessions. So the answer is yes, we broadcast them regularly, and as regularly as we possibly can. Next week, for instance, it will certainly not be possible as Bayern Munich travel to an away game in Donetsk. We'll see. Maybe the week after. In the national team breaks, there are always options to broadcast them, but we know how popular these training sessions are with the fans, so we always try to bring you an inside and maybe a little bit of a behind-the-scenes view of Bayern Munich, which we hope you enjoy. As you can see, players leaving the number one pitch, going on to pitch number 2, where there will be some secretive exercises which we hope can bring Bayern Munich the second victory in succession. That's on Saturday, home game against Hamburg, the old north-south clash in the Bundesliga. Tuesday, then the away game in Donetsk, followed by another away game in the north of Germany in Paderborn. It's going to be an interesting and a very important week for Bayern Munich with 2 Bundesliga games and a Champions League away match. So stay tuned and also follow the information on our website. We'll let you know when we will broadcast the next live training session. Hope you enjoyed this one. See you next time.